I'm really, really pleased to introduce our first speaker, who is Gunda Schumann, is a lesbian activist from Las Reloaded, which is a company, a voluntary organization, and she's a member of the board of Las Reloaded, a lawyer, a sociologist, and an author. In 1972, lesbians joined the Organization of Homosexual Men, HAW, establishing the first lesbian group, HAW-Frauen. It was the beginning of a lesbian feminist movement in Germany, making lesbians and their demands for equal rights through spectacular actions visible to the public. Gunda is going to give us a talk and update us on what's happened in the last 50 years. So thank you so much, Gunda, for coming on, and over to you.
I would talk about 50 years German lesbian movement, from the Lesbian Action Center Reloaded, as it calls today, back to the Lesbian Action Center, and further back to Women of Homosexual Aktion Westberlin. The first title I call Her Story, from Women of Homosexual Aktion Berlin West to Lesbian Action Center, LATZ, Berlin West. Lesbian Action Center West Berlin has emerged from the women's group that was founded in 1972 as part of the Homosexual Aktion Berlin West, HAW. This women's group declared itself LATZ in solidarity with the feminist women's movement. Actions and demands by Lesbian Action Center during the 70s pushed for a more open-minded attitude towards lesbians and women in the following decades by society at large. One spectacular action has been the public protest against the defamatory press coverage of a murder trial against two lesbian women in 1974. The press used the criminal charge against the two women accused of killing the abusive husband to criminalize all lesbians, with the following headline: "The Crimes of Lesbian Women." After lesbians of HAW entered the courtroom to address the judges, the press coverage read as follows: "Judges leave the courtroom to take refuge from lesbians." Another activity was a participation in a nationwide TV documentary in 1974 titled "And We Take Our Rights," in German, "Und wir nehmen uns unser Recht," that enlarged the German lesbian movement overnight in a manifold fashion. The founding mothers of this first engaging West German feminist lesbian movement of the 70s came from the leftist, anti-authoritarian and anti-capitalist movement of the 60s, in which the dominant heteronormative and patriarchal structures of society were not at issue. Originally as women's group of Homosexual Aktion Berlin West, and later as LAZ, they have been engaged between the years 1972 and till 1982, creating a lot of activities and projects. Here you see LAZ as a spider in the middle, and a lot of activities and projects stemming from that organization. Afterwards, the group dissolved. Nevertheless, the women working now in projects or men-dominated jobs and living in communes continued taking advantage through past empowerment by radical lesbian group procedures and experiences. Here you see a karate group. So what happened in the years afterwards? In 2018, there was an exhibition called Radical Lesbian Feminist, a retrospective of the lesbian feminist movement in Germany, took place in the Gay Museum in Berlin, from 5th of July till 5th of November 2018. 3 former LAZ women organized an exhibition showing a retrospective of LAZ in the Gay Museum. There's a video on the exhibition available. Please order at LAZ if you are interested. The email address is laz.reloaded@gmx.com. A variety of as yet non-published original documents, image and audio material, and last not least, precious treasures of private collections, including records and musical instruments, are showing for the first time engaged forms of resistance, imaginative actions, publications by LAZ, and the abundance of projects that are in part ongoing till today, thereby documenting the pleasure of lesbian life in all its facets. Furthermore, former visions like Lesbian Nation emerged in European lesbian summer camps, in celebrating large festivals with the Flying Lesbians, a lesbian rock band, in creative projects like the Lesbian Press newsletter, but also in self-defense and consciousness-raising groups. Afterwards, Lesbian Action Center Reloaded was founded in 2019. Lesbians should be visible and their rights be preserved. That is a message. LAZ is alive, and as LUTs Reloaded, it desires to get again its own rooms, preferably a lively location open to the public but reserved to women. Hoping that it may become a meeting point for lesbians, their numerous activities, their urge for knowledge, their solidarity. LUTs Reloaded should be a contact base for radical lesbians, the organization for lesbian visibility. Before moving into its own rooms, it will organize events with discussion, lectures, films, cultural topics, and a lesbian feminist generation dialogue at different locations as well as online. In the following, you will find a sample of recent events organized by LUTs Reloaded. One is called Lecture and Talk with Dr. Madeleine Marti, different than the others, a lesbian love story in the 50s. The next one talks about Magdalena Kemper, a lesbian feminist journalist, is remembering Giselle Freund, a lesbian Jewish immigrant and photographer whom she met for an interview in Paris, 1989. The situation of lesbian women in China. A Chinese woman is reporting about lesbians in China, lecture and question and answers. Sabine Constable, board member of Sisters organization, she talked about fight for abolition of prostitution, lecture and talk. This was about the relationship between language and world, a lecture and talk about discriminating language with Ulla Baumann, PhD from the University of Mannheim. Eyewitness report about Filia, Portsmouth, and LGB Conference, London. One island, 2 conferences, 3 lesbians. Then we had online Zabet, a detransitioner. Detransition in Germany and internationally, one time, the other sex, and back. Get the L Out UK, lecture and talk with Liane Timmermann from Get the L Out in the UK. Gender identity replacing sex, a Trojan horse for women or an end game for lesbians. That was a lecture last June, I held by myself. Film, input, talk, and discussion on international networking with activist and award winner for lesbian visibility, Katharina Oguntoye, and the author Carolyn Gammon. A discourse on worldwide feminist positions of the 80s and the 90s. Thank you very much for your attention. Last not least, I would like to draw your attention to a big event organized by LUTs Reloaded at the end of May 2022 in Berlin, celebrating 50 years of German lesbian movement, including workshops, lectures, sightseeing tours, artist performances, music, dancing, networking, and much more. Please watch further details on our website. Thank you.